after 9 o'clock, and we're now going to be talking with writer and journalist Kevin Bloom. He talks about Jewish and isolation, the hidden cost of opposing genocide in Gaza. Kevin, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Julie. Thank you for having me back.
Okay, it was lovely having you the last time, and I look forward to this interview. You call what's happening in Gaza a genocide directly, unapologetically, and in your view, what has made it so difficult for Western media and political leaders to use that word, genocide, despite overwhelming evidence? And I must tell you very quickly, just at the beginning of the genocide, I had started using the word on my platforms. I'm on another platform as well. And I got called out severely back then for using the word genocide. And here we are that many months later, and it's now a very commonly used word. We
Mm.
understand the word genocide, the horrors of the word genocide, and what exactly it is all about. And yet, Western media don't use it as frequently or just don't use it at all.
Julie, I think we've seen a change in the last week or two. We've certainly seen a change in Israel with B'Tselem and Physicians for Human Rights last week calling it a genocide. Now, these are the first two Israeli organizations to do so. There has been consensus amongst genocide scholars for a good couple of months. You'll be very hard pressed to find a genocide scholar who won't agree that this is a genocide. And they use the term very specifically. It's used in terms of the 1948 Genocide Convention, where the hardest thing to prove is intent, to wipe out a people in whole or in part. Now, the intent was there at the beginning. It was there in statements from Yoav Galant about human animals. It was there in the invocation of Amalek that needed to be wiped off the face of the earth. Nissim Vaturi was saying, an Israeli cabinet minister was saying early, like sort of October 8th, October 10th, 2023, that Gaza needs to be wiped off the face of the map. And then you saw this reflected in the TikTok videos of the soldiers themselves. And we see the destruction. And now we're seeing images that are beyond horrific. We are seeing a precisely engineered starvation campaign. And our eyes are not lying to us. But what is happening is that there's a split between the supremacists, and it's not just the Jewish supremacists, it's the white supremacists who support this. And those are in solidarity, those who believe in humanity, those who understand that our only safety going forward is in solidarity and is inequality, and that keeps us all safe. And there really has been a shift in perception that has been palpable in the last week towards the latter, where the vast majority of human beings who are watching this are calling for it to stop, are calling it what it is, which is a genocide. We're seeing BBC come across, we're seeing CNN come across, we're seeing New York Times come across. And these were organizations that for many months were two-sidesing this thing. So the word genocide, again, for me, in summary, is very much part of the conversation now, as it should be. And I don't even think we've begun to understand the horrors that is the reality on the ground in Gaza today. We haven't even begun.
Kevin, in your opinion, what do you believe has caused the shift and this late in the genocide? This should never have gotten to this stage at all. Or did it have to take something like the famine to
Mm,
get people to open their eyes, Western media to realize
mm,
this is truly a genocide?
mm. Yeah, well, Julie, this was the point of our government's intervention at the International Court of Justice, which was a long time ago. the first intervention. It was in December of 23. And the whole point of bringing it, the whole point of the Genocide Convention is to stop it getting here, because it's a process. It's not an event. And the boxes were ticked, which is why, the judges immediately said there's a plausible case. And by a plausible case, that means that the international community needs to act. But the international community didn't act. And the international community didn't act because the United States refuses to stop arming this genocidal state. So they get to act with impunity. And it's just the international rule of law has sustained a massive blow on the one hand. On the other hand, we've never had more human beings on planet Earth talking about the international rule of law and the need for it. Now, that doesn't help the Gazans who are starving every day, the Palestinians, the Gazans, the mothers, the children, the men, like all of them, who are getting shot at these GHF aid sites because they just want to get some food. And we're in this position because the West has refused to enforce the international rule of law. Now, it's all well and good that
Let me come
France.
here.
It's all well and good that France and the UK and Canada are recognizing a Palestinian state. That's great. But why don't they start by stopping the shipment of arms? Why don't they start with a blockade? Why don't they start with proper sanctions that'll actually make Israel think twice?
Absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on with that response. What do you believe is, and we've talked around this with other people over and over again. What do you believe is America's agenda in arming Israel to the hilt to continue this genocide, this atrocity, this inhumane atrocity? What is it? What's in it for them?
So, Julie, I mean, this is a very long answer, of course, and we know how this started. Israel was basically America's aircraft carrier in the Middle East, and Israel acted for many years like America's pit bull in the region, and in a region of authoritarian Islamic petrostates, very rich petrostates that in a lot of ways represented the opposite of the views of the American democracy. We know now that it's not that simple. We even knew then. Intellectuals like Noam Chomsky and journalists like Chris Hedges were telling us how dark Western hegemony actually is at its core. I think now what's driving it is momentum from the past. I am starting to get the sense, and the journalists that I'm looking at are starting to get the sense that Trump is getting a bit sick of this. Even his people are starting to turn on Israel. The Democratic Party has been split apart by this. The gig is up in terms of the Jewish American lobby. The vast majority of young Jews, not the vast majority, let me say the majority, more than 50% of Jewish Americans under the age of 40 don't want this. They don't want this in their name. They don't want this Jewish supremacy. They don't want this Zionism. Zoran Mamdani doesn't get voted in as the Democratic candidate for mayor of New York without the young Jewish vote. So we're seeing a sea change. And America's not going to be supplying Israel forever. Are they going to stop in the short term? I don't think they're going to stop in the short term. They're not. This has to stop. The Jews of the world have to call for this to stop. That's how it stops.
Okay. critics label anti-Zionist Jews as traitors. I'm sure you come in for a lot of flack all the time, or possibly also self-hating. How do you personally navigate this hostility, and why is it so important for dissenting Jewish voices to be heard right now?
Julie, that's the core of it, and I do come in for it all the time. It's endless and it's relentless, and it's vicious. They take it out on my mother. My mother's been getting threats. It's vicious, and the point of it is solidarity. There are not many of us, but there are a few of us, and solidarity with really brave Israeli voices like Ori Goldberg, who are doing this from inside of Israel. A person like Yuli Novak, who's the executive director of B'Tselem, and has just called this a genocide. The title of her report is Genocide Shelanu, which means our genocide. Now, Jews can't, this is such a triggering word for Jews. We're brought up in the Holocaust, and the Holocaust was real. And now we're perpetrating one. And, these labels of capo, which is a bad one. Capo were the Jews that worked with the Nazis in the concentration camps. So, the vocal anti-Zionist Jews in this country, the Megan Schoritzes and the Daniel Friedmans and the Jared Saxes, are called capos all the time, as am I. We carry on because solidarity is more important to us than supremacy. Because, not in our name, because this genocide is despicable. And we will be vindicated. And it's not even about vindication. It's about, what did you do when you saw this? What did you say? How did you use your voice? And most of the people I grew up with are going to be answering that question for the rest of their lives, even though they have a go at me and say, they're all anti-Semitic and they'll be coming for you too. But it's like their arguments just don't hold up, because whatever you're saying to me and however you're coming at me, what you're doing, and I see you doing it, and you're doing it on WhatsApp, and you're doing it everyone sees you doing it. You're defending a genocide. When it dawns on you that that's what you're doing, it's not going to be good to be you.
Many liberal or progressive Jews claim to be uncomfortable with Israel's actions, but stop short of naming them as criminal. What do you say to those who quietly and very uneasily remain publicly passive? And I'm really sorry to hear about the fact that they're going at your mom, taking a shot at your mom. My duas is that you'll be safe and not harmed in any way. So I'm really sorry for that. But in response to my question then.
Silence is consent. And I'm not really interested that people feel uncomfortable, because the pain of actually dying by starvation, next to the fact that you feel a little bit uncomfortable in your probably, affluent area of Joburg or Cape Town, which is where the majority of us live. We're a well-off community. We haven't been oppressed for a long time. There's a long history of oppression. It is true. There were pogroms in Russia. There was the Holocaust. There's genetic trauma, but we're not oppressed now. We're affluent now. We're well off. We're well off. Many of us are beneficiaries of apartheid. Most of us. And those of us that spoke against apartheid, like the Albie Saxes and the Joe Slovos and the Ruth Firsts, weren't welcome in the Jewish community until 1990, when all of a sudden everyone's related to them. What happened to Richard Goldstone with the Goldstone Commission? He wasn't allowed to have his bar mitzvah at the Santon. He wasn't allowed to attend his grandson's bar mitzvah at the Santon Shul, because the chief rabbi and the rabid Zionists turned on him for calling Operation Cast Lead what it was, and called out both sides. He called out Israel and Hamas for war crimes in that UN report, an Operation Cast Lead that came out in 2011. And he was forced to retract because they went for his family.
Sure. Okay, you personally have lost friends. You've been denounced in the press, being a journalist yourself. I mean, you could be out of work. The press won't carry your articles. You've been isolated from your community, but still you write. What drives your refusal to stay silent? And what do you owe, if anything, to those suffering in Gaza?
Yeah, Julie. I mean, look, Daily Maverick has been behind me all the way. The editors get almost as much flack as I do. These guys are relentless. They don't go away. What drives me, Julie, is this is the atrocity of our time. This is the crime of crimes. What the Palestinians in Gaza are being forced to undergo is no human being should in their worst nightmares. And contrary to what a lot of these people say to me, oh, go live in Gaza, go meet a Palestinian. I know Palestinians. And the Palestinians I've met, the ones I know, are some of the most remarkable human beings I've ever met. And what I hope for them is dignity, is sovereignty, is their land. Which doesn't mean that I'm for Jews being driven into the sea. I'm not. I'm for a single democratic state. I'm for the right of return for the Palestinian refugees in Gaza. Those villages that were hidden by the pine trees, that all Jews gave money to when we grew up, those villages belong to them. They don't belong to these Jewish supremacists. And if we can do it in this country, then it can be done. Israel's not an exception. Palestine's not an exception. It's that we're all human beings. It's not complicated.
So, Kevin, let me ask you this question. How do you feel about the two-state solution? That would just once again create a Bantustan situation for the Palestinian people, would it not?
Yeah, and I'm not in favor. I used to, when I was in Israel all those years ago in the early 90s, there was a movement called Shalom Achshav, Peace Now, and it was Yitzhak Rabin, and the two-state solution at that point it seemed viable, well at least to me and to a lot of people. But now I think it's dead. It's not only dying; it's dead. It's not a solution. The only solution is a single democratic state. And I mean, my brethren, the Zionists, will just go absolutely apoplectic at that idea that they're all going to be killed. But the whites in South Africa were also scared that they were all going to be killed, and we weren't.
Yeah,
we
the
weren't.
Swart Gevaar. They were afraid of the Swart Gevaar.
Exactly.
Let's wrap up now. And the reason I asked you about the two-state solution is certain Western governments are pushing that agenda. And we know that it's just going to create another apartheid-style South African situation. But be that as it may, we do need to wrap up now. In the face of this devastation, Kevin, do you believe that a new Jewish moral awakening is possible, and one that is grounded in justice, not ethno-nationalism? I'm not Jewish, I'm Muslim, but I firmly believe that that is a very, very strong possibility. But from a Jewish point of view, how do you feel about it?
Well, it's happening. It's not only possible; it's happening. There's a split in world Jewry, and the split is between the Zionists and the anti-Zionists, and the moral awakening is happening with the anti-Zionists, and It's an expression of global solidarity. Solidarity is the word, but solidarity with all humanity, and solidarity with basic human rights and human dignity and the rights of everyone, to what this planet has to offer, to what being alive on planet Earth is. This awakening is happening. It's happening in South Africa. People do reach out to me from the other side saying, "Thank you, Kevin. We didn't have a voice. We were scared of being shunned, but you've given us a bit of courage to say something at the Friday night table." That's happening too. And more of that is going to happen. And that's the only way we come through as Jews and as South Africans and as human beings.
Kevin Bloom, journalist and writer, thank you indeed for being a voice of reason and a voice of hope. God bless. Thank you so much, and go well.
Thank you very much, Jill.
9:32 News and Views. I do think we're going to take a listen to the Fired Up series now with Hafiz Imran Chunara, and I'm not yet sure what the topic is. My producer will flash it on screen for us in a minute or two, and then we will continue with our interviews. We will be talking a little later on to Dr. Ahmed Habib. He's a chest surgeon based in the UK, but he's going to share his eyewitness, own personal account as a doctor in Gaza, and that will be a little later on. But right now, an ad break, and then we will take a listen to the Fired Up series with Hafiz Imran Chunara, and the topic today is to speak the truth.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This